We know the entire system is rigged. Maybe you'd say it's capitalism, communism, or fascism. Politicians, the technocrats, or elites. Maybe Trump, Elon, or Putin. We may even blame immigrants or minorities, human greed or desire for control and power, or the obscure cabal ruling the world. What if I said you were right no matter what you were thinking, but there was one common thread that ties all of this together? A broader system at the root cause. This video presents two opposing realities, and you're probably in this one right now, unaware of this other reality. Stick with me, I'm going to explain exactly what's happening in both and how you can choose what you want to experience. We are going to use first principle thinking, which is a problem-solving method that breaks down complex ideas into their most basic and fundamental parts. This method is a deep search for truth, challenging every assumption we have ever held, allowing us to identify the root cause of problems and unveil universal laws and objective truths. So let's analyze each of them from first principles, starting with systems. Our first principle is the natural state of the free market is deflation. This may sound innocuous, but it is absolutely fundamental. Understanding what this sentence means profoundly changes everything in our world. So let me define each term. Free market just means humans trading together. Deflation is the opposite of inflation, meaning prices fall. And natural in this case means without any third-party intervention. So this first principle means that when we trade together without any third-party intervention, prices fall. You may be wondering why I'm even mentioning this. Because we're led to believe that my work contributes to you and your work contributes to me. That we live in a world where our skills, talents, gifts, abilities, energy, and time are shared and distributed in a global free market. However, it's clear as day that our work is funneled up to the top 1%. That the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. This is important here because both of these realities transcend all systems. Communism, capitalism, socialism, all of them, because the free market is an embodiment of human communication. So why is the natural state of the free market is deflation true? Because we choose things that give us better value for money. Imagine you want to buy a cappuccino and you see two equivalent cafes next to each other. Which one would you choose if the coffee were $10 at one location and $3 at the other? You would probably pick the $3 coffee because it's the same value for less money. When it comes to groceries, if you know that 10 items you need are on sale at one grocery store, and the other 10 items are on sale at another grocery store, you may go to both that day to get everything you need on sale rather than spending more at the same shop. Thus, we are naturally incentivized to seek more value for money. And so, in the free market, entrepreneurs work hard to eliminate costs using technology. That's how they stay competitive. For example, if the second cafe is charging $10 per coffee because they're paying 5 workers to hand grind the beans, manually boil the water, and prepare everything from scratch, while the other cafe has 1 employee with a machine, then the cafe with the machine will have far more clients and income because they can provide more value for less cost. This brings us to our next point about this first principle. The natural state of the free market is deflation because technology is deflationary. This means that technology makes things cheaper. So why then is everything getting more expensive? Now, we do see technology itself getting cheaper. If you wait a few years, you can get an even better, more powerful phone for about the same cost. Same for TVs, computers, and other tech. But technology is in every industry and should be improving all aspects of our lives, including healthcare, transportation, and agriculture. So why then is healthcare, transportation, and food getting more expensive? Let's take homes as an example. Between 1908 and 1940, you could buy a kit house from a Sears catalog for a few $1,000s. It came with everything you needed, including lumber, roofing, windows, doors, floors, nails, and more. All you had to do was follow the plan to build it. In 2021, one of these homes sold for $1.4 million. That's over a 4,800% increase in 100 years. Now you may say, Daniella, salaries increased in the meantime. But the average salary back then was just over $3,000 per year, and the average home cost just over $6,000 fully built. Essentially, you could buy a home on one salary without any debt if you saved for a few years. Can you buy a home on one salary today? Can you buy a home without any debt today? Did your salary increase 80% in the last 25 years to keep up with real inflation? Also, this doesn't change the first principle fact that technology is deflationary, and we've never had so much tech to prepare construction materials or build homes. But you might say, Danny, homes are assets. And yes, but the only reason we need assets is because our money loses value over time. And still, that does not change the very fact that technology is deflationary. We've never had this much technology and innovation in home building. Therefore, home prices should logically be falling. If that's not happening, something's up. Just think about it. An old house from 1920 should not be worth $1.4 million. It just makes no sense. So how about eggs? Well, if you're trading eggs for apples, they're free. But I digress. A dozen eggs cost 34 cents in 1945. Today, egg production is highly optimized by technology and undergoes automated production with conveyor belts and AI monitoring for quality control. Yet, a dozen eggs can go for almost $10 in some places in the US now, almost a 2,700% increase compared to 1945. Sure, we could blame disease and supply chain issues, but that does not change the fundamental truth that technology is deflationary and there is more technology than ever in egg production. And so, eggs should be cheaper because less employees, more optimized processes, better yield, and more value for money. Because really, what's the difference between this egg and this egg? When you think about quality even, or the conditions for the birds, there's even less reason industrial eggs should be more expensive today. And the worst part is, clearly my presentation is very Western-centric because I'm not even talking about hyperinflation in other countries yet, where 3 eggs cost 100 billion Zimbabwe dollars, for example. I'll come back to this though, just bear with me. All of these are excuses we were trained to believe from a system obscuring the root cause of the problem. None of these things change the very fact that the natural state of the free market is deflation, or that technology is deflationary. We are told to look at first, second, third order effects, but cannot actually solve the problem unless we get to the root cause. I'm sure you sense deep down that these things are not true. I just want you to know that we don't have to stay in the gaslighting system if we don't want to. Just ask yourself, can I buy more or less this year with the same money? If the answer is less, something's wrong in your reality, but you can actually do something about it. So, coming back to our foundational first principle, the natural state of the free market is deflation because we choose things that give us more value for less money, because technology is deflationary, and also because human innovation and technological progress improves our lives. So then, why have most things gotten worse over time? A simple example is flying. In the 1960s, there were no security lines. You could hang out at the piano bar on planes and enjoy a full-course meal. Now, you pay far more to arrive hours before your flight, to be fully scanned and scrutinized, and sit in a space that's becoming less and less humane while being served a small bag of peanuts. I mean, it's ridiculous. If technology is designed to make our lives better, then why is healthcare getting worse? Doctors used to make house calls and spend as much time as needed with patients. Now people are getting more sick than ever when we've never had so much technology to help doctors be more productive. I lost my grandmother to cancer when I was a kid. It was incredibly painful. But I found hope in the idea that cancer research would one day lead to breakthroughs that could save people. It's been decades. Tons of money was poured into cancer research, and yet nothing has changed, except cancer rates have increased. Why? It's not because of better detection, all cancers are different, or whatever other excuses we've been told. Everything we're discussing are symptoms, second, third, fourth order effects of a greater problem that all come back to this first principle. The natural state of the free market is deflation. We're far more productive than we ever have been, empowered with dozens of devices all in one, and yet people are working nonstop. Some can't afford a home. Something's wrong, and I'm grateful you're still here because I know you're seeking deeper truths like I did to try to understand all of this. I promise I'll soon talk about what we can do. Just stick with me with the foundation. This is necessary and not something we're taught in school. This is why the free market's so important. Like I said, it transcends all other systems. The free market is embodied in money. Money was designed to physically represent human communication, time, and energy. So if you can co-opt the free market through money, you can control our time, energy, and communication. If you can co-opt the free market, you become wealthy, powerful, and untouchable. So to wrap up our exploration on systems, if the natural state of the free market is deflation, then we do not live in a free market, and we never have. None of these systems, or any other you can think of, allow free trade between humans because they're all centralized. This means we've never actually had capitalism. We've had crony capitalism, which relies on favoritism, nepotism, grants, lobbying, and monopolies, thus stifling free market competition. Therefore, communism and capitalism are the same system. They have exactly the same outcomes within this broader system. Our votes within it are just a false illusion of choice, because all of these systems co-opt the free market and thus our time, energy, and communication. Let's keep going with groups and individuals because we often hear that they are to blame as well. I also want to mention the first principles I'm discussing here are based on the powerful work of technologist, visionary, and overall amazing individual, Jeff Booth. I highly recommend his book and will share more resources at the end. Now let's explore groups and individuals together. We're going to begin with the first principle that money is superordinate to rule of law. Why? Because if you control money, you control the law. Now you probably heard the opposite in school, that law is superordinate to money. But how is it that there is little to no accountability for the devastating actions of corporations and the individuals within them? How is it that no matter who we vote for, nothing really changes, except the national debt keeps expanding? Or that no matter who we vote for, governments keep getting bigger? Or that monopolies keep growing? How is it that no matter who we vote for, inflation keeps getting worse and that we can buy less and less every year? The reason is because it doesn't matter who we elect. If you control money, you control people, incentives, and outcomes. Let's switch gears and talk about where we believe money is doing good. How is it that NGOs have received more money than ever, yet hunger is getting worse, or homelessness, and poverty? Even with $4.5 billion in donations in 2022, UNICEF is still asking for more money. Why? You may say it's a resource distribution problem or whatever else. These reasons have existed since the dawn of time. We honestly have to ask why. I know this is not what people want to hear, but human suffering is incredibly profitable to the broader system. Poverty exists by design. I know this is a very hard truth, but once we see it, we can make meaningful change. I want to be clear, I'm not blaming NGOs or the people who work in them. Everyone is doing their very best. Teachers, humanitarians, volunteers, doctors, nurses, healthcare practitioners. They're good people trying to help others from within a system designed to hurt us all. The problem's not the people or groups. It's the broader system. Too few of us are looking at first principles to understand the root cause of what's going on in the world because we're all trained to look at second, third, fourth order effects of our distorted reality. The media, politicians, everyone is yelling at these layers without mentioning the root cause, in part because it's so difficult to see. How can you imagine the light if you spent your entire life in the darkness? We, including economists, we're not trained to look at the root cause of the problem or to imagine what the light could be. This is by design, not conspiracy at all. Otherwise, we would not be where we are today. So I'm not blaming anyone here. Like I said, if you can control the free market, you control people's time, energy, and communication, incentives, outcomes, and emotions. You can become wealthy and powerful and untouchable. This is a system problem. So if money is superordinate to rule of law, then the laws are designed to protect those in power, not us. Democracy is therefore an illusion, and voting is an illusion of choice. It won't matter who you vote for, the outcomes will be exactly the same within the broader system. And I know this is hard to accept, but more money does not solve any problems. Otherwise, there would be no hunger, no poverty, or homelessness in a world with over $900 trillion in the system. I'll go deeper into the role of money as a representation of the free market very shortly. But I just want to finish walking through our who's to blame pyramid, moving on to us and human pursuits, because these are also often things that we hear. And I just want to mention, my videos have no ads, no sponsors, and my book dives even deeper into everything we are exploring right now, especially the more hopeful and empowering aspects of understanding where we have agency to make meaningful change and what that free market could look like. But I'm still going to cover as much as I can in this video. So, us and our human pursuits. Our first principle for this section is we are all one. Why? Because we are all connected. Think about it. We all come from the same stardust or the same source origin. Even in physics and akin to Albert Einstein's unified field theory, a singular interconnected energy system underlies all existence, with everything in the universe being interdependent. While our individual experiences are separate, the consciousness underlying everything is the same. We are unique individuals, but also part of a unified whole, just like unique waves in the vast ocean. I know this could seem esoteric or spiritual, and it is, but it's also grounded in physics. So why then, if we have never been so connected through technology, are we so divided? Online, we see debates about our differences, culture, religion, skin color, language, beliefs. Why is this further fueled by sensationalized content, AI, bots, and algorithms on social media designed to make us angry and frustrated? Because offline, no matter where we go, we know most people are good and well-intentioned at their core. We all desire love, belonging, and to help others. So why then is the internet the opposite, division and yelling? Why do we live in different countries split up by arbitrary delimitation while we're all living on the very same planet? Why do some have, quote, more privileges and rights at birth compared to others just because of where we're born or our gender? What would you do if you were born into a dictatorship? Would you consider risking your life to go to a country near the top of the monopoly on money, to go to a place with a semblance of a free market, like the United States, Canada, or Europe? What if this fake hierarchy were a way to play into ego, divide and conquer us? A strategy the system uses against us in order to keep us in fear, scarcity, and yelling at each other rather than looking at the broader system behind the curtain. We are not our ego, the color of our skin, our sexual orientation, or this physical avatar. We are souls having a human experience. It just so happens that we're in Hell Valley on the skewed 1985 timeline, but I'll get deeper into that idea in another video. But the good news, which I will cover here, is that there's a way out. It's just not in a DeLorean. When it comes to the deep state, to be honest, I'm not knowledgeable enough about this, and it feels like the deepest, darkest void of our world. I would just prefer to focus on the broader system where we have agency rather than something that we really can't control. I'm not denying the existence of this at all, though, of course. I will just defer to other experts in the description if you want to explore this, but essentially, all of these are 100% in service to the broader system, which I'll explain in depth now. Finally, what is it that ties all of this together, the broader system I keep mentioning? I talked about economics and the free market, money being superordinate to rule of law, and the illusion of division within the current system. Because if you control the free market, you control people's time, energy, communication, incentives, outcomes, and emotions. You become wealthy, powerful, and untouchable. The thing that ties all of this together and imposes a distortion on our world is fiat. Fiat is the broader system that encompasses all of this. Let me explain why and how. I decided to join you on camera for this part of the presentation. So dollars, euros, pesos, yen, lira, no matter what currency you're looking at, these are fiat currencies. They are declared or decreed to have value because fiat actually means in Latin to declare, to decree. It shall be so, let it be done. And so someone, some entity, something says that this paper essentially has value. All of this is wrapped up within the fiat system. No matter where we're looking at in the world, someone is using a fiat currency. Any money that people use is a fiat currency. That is part of this global economic monetary system. This transcends anything, all systems, whatever, deep state, doesn't matter, individuals. This is a global economic monetary system that affects us all. And like I said, fiat money is a way to co-opt the free market. This is why money is so important here. And so where does money come from? Who says that it has value? Who decrees it to have value? So you've got central banks. They are the banks of banks, and they essentially print money. They create it. They work in tandem with governments that create money through subsidies and jobs and other methods. And the biggest creator of money is actually mostly commercial banks. They lend out money. So if you bring €1,000 or dollars or whatever to the bank, they can lend out way more than that to other people. So essentially your money's not there and they're also creating a ton of money. That's called fractional reserve banking. I'm not going to get into the nitty gritty details of the system, but we just got to know that there's three main groups that print money within fiat. And this happens in all countries. So we got to ask how much money has been printed since 2020. And we're going to look at the United States specifically because just so happens that they're like the top of the monopoly, right? What the United States does affects the rest of the world because they are the main money printer. And so even though I'm talking about the United States and you might not be in the United States, this still concerns everyone directly. So since 2020, they printed a ton of money. And just to understand what a ton of money is, here's a quick illustration. So this is someone standing next to a pile of $100 bills that makes up 1 million. Here is 100 million. So you've got pallet of bills. This is 1 billion. So 10 pallets of 100 million. Now I want you to imagine a football field, okay? And you're going to fill it in your mind with double stacked pallets. And now you have $1 trillion. It's such a massive amount of money that it's really hard to actually imagine what that entails. I don't think anyone could spend that in an entire lifetime. It's just insane. So between 2020 and 2025, the United States didn't print 2 trillion or 4 trillion. They created 12 trillion new dollars in the system. Now you might be like, well, cool. How does that affect me? I don't know what that even means. It's just okay, a massive amount of money. I promise it affects everybody on planet Earth. Why? Well, because 44% of all American dollars that are in circulation were printed since 2020. It's a huge amount of money. And the thing is, like we've been talking about through this presentation, money printing is apolitical. It happens no matter what party's in power and no matter what country you're in. This is asystemic. So you can be in a democracy, in a liberal or conservative experience in the United States, or you can be in communist China. It doesn't matter. There's still money printing happening because, like we said earlier, this is a broader system that encompasses everything else. So money printing is not a democratic process. We have no vote in this. We're not saying, hey, go print me $1 million. You know what I mean? It's not happening like that. What I'm going to argue right now is that money printing is at the root cause of the darkness that we see in the world. This is the bigger issue that causes all of the other first, second, third order effects that we've seen throughout this presentation. Here's an analogy as to why money printing is such a problem. Let's say we're on the beach, okay? And there's lots of sand everywhere. And I have a great business idea and I'm like, I'm just going to sell some sand. So I come up to you with a bunch of sand. I'm like, hey, you want to buy some sand from me? You're probably going to say no. Why? Because sand is abundant, right? It's everywhere. But if I continue walking along the beach and I find a diamond, there's probably a much better chance that I'm going to find a buyer eventually because diamonds are scarce. They're rare and valuable. And so if we bring this back to money, when there's a ton of money in the system, when it is abundant, it loses its value. It's everywhere. It's abundant. I'm not going to pay for it, right? Same thing with money. It loses that value. And so What happens for it to keep some form of value is that abundant money flows into scarce assets. It goes into things that actually do have value, like land, right? We need somewhere to stay, to live. Businesses create value. And so abundant money flows into the stock market, right? Where you can trade on businesses. It goes into real estate because we all need somewhere to live. So abundant money flows into things that we actually need, like groceries, right? We all have to eat. Housing, transportation, healthcare. Everything gets more expensive because of abundant money, because it has to go into things that do have value, since the money essentially doesn't have any value. And so imagine with me, someone comes into your house every year and steals 2% of your stuff. Maybe you wouldn't really notice, right? If they stole 5%, maybe you'd start to notice, but every year, I don't know. But right now, since 2020, they've been stealing 10%, right? And people are starting to notice. They're realizing, hey, inflation's been out of control, right? Everything's gone up insanely. It's getting really expensive in the West. Like I said, I'm not talking about other countries right now. I'm mostly talking about, Europe and Canada, United States, Australia. Like 10% is a lot for us, but this is nothing for other countries where we have exported our inflation, essentially. It's too much to cover in this video, but like I said, their hyperinflation is by design. It's not because of banana republic, poor money management, dictators, or whatever else the system told us. You gotta ask, who is funding all of this? Or what? Essentially, our inflation was exported. And we're lucky to be closer to the top of the monopoly, and I'm using air quotes, but that's the only reason that we have less inflation than other countries. And so a direct result of money printing is inflation. The increase in prices. Like we said earlier, if you can co-opt the free market through money, you can control people's time and energy. Inflation is the direct theft of your life force energy, your existence, your very lifetime here on Earth. It's not easy to admit, but once we do, it's freeing because you can actually do something about it. But why do we want money in the first place? This is a really important question. Do we want money to have a big pile of cash that we do nothing with? Probably not. We don't want to have a big pile of money in the bank or whatever. We want money to buy things. So somewhere to live, you pay rent or your mortgage. You want to be able to get around, have transportation, take care of your family, have food to eat, go on vacation. So we don't want money for the money. We want money for purchasing power, right? The ability to buy things with the money, purchasing power. So let's have a look at how our purchasing power has evolved over time. I've got dollars here, but it doesn't matter what country you're in. I'm sure the experience is very similar. Imagine $20 in 1995. What could that buy? Probably a cart full of food, right? 2015, maybe a half cart of food. But today, 2025, 2026, could probably buy like a quarter cart of food. Not much. Why is that? It's the money printing, right? The more money in the system, which has gone exponential, absolute crazy amounts of money in the system, the less we can buy because everything gets more expensive. So we have bigger numbers in our bank account, but we can't buy as much with those numbers. Here's a great example I gave earlier, right? Remember that $100 billion Zimbabwe bill that you can buy 3 eggs with? Like, the numbers literally don't matter. Who cares if you're a millionaire if bread costs 99999, whatever number of numbers? Like, you can't buy anything with it. Now, I'm not laughing at hyperinflation here. This is a serious topic. I'm laughing about our love of big numbers. But really, the only reason the Zimbabwe dollar is worthless and the US dollar has some perceived value is because the US is the top of the monopoly, the biggest network effect imposed by fiat, decreed through war, killing, death, and suppression of 99% of the world population by design. We were born into a horrible, shitty system, but we don't have to stay here. This comes back to what I mentioned earlier. What would you do if you were born into a country at the bottom of the monopoly, where you can't afford food or a safe place to live? Would you get in a boat and risk your life to maybe have a better one on the other side? If you're from the US, Canada, or Australia, are you Native American or a descendant of an immigrant family? Probably your family immigrated there at some point. We are all immigrants on planet Earth. So let's all just live in a free market where this fiat reality doesn't exist. Okay, but why does it even exist in the first place? Like, who does this system serve? There is a positive lining for some people within this system or some individuals. Like I said, I'm not blaming asset owners. I'm not blaming people. This is a system problem. But how does this system serve certain people closest to the top? Well, when it comes to asset owners, the more money in the system, the richer they become because they don't trade their time for money. They own assets, right? It's the wage workers that trade their time for money, which is most of the world population. Most of us, go to work at 9 to 5. We don't own assets like housing, real estate, land, everything I mentioned earlier, stocks. Unless you own a lot of that and you're very wealthy, you're no longer trading your time for money. So what happens is that the more money in the system, the more their purchasing power increases because abundant money flows into scarce assets, like we said earlier. However, for workers, if you're renting, for example, well, your rent increased, right? Because there's so much money in the system, there's more costs, etc. Okay, rent goes up. Now what happens? Your purchasing power decreases. You have to work more hours. You have to do more to try to catch up because you don't own assets that are naturally appreciating in value. And so this demonstrates the Cantillon effect, where 1.2% of the world population hold 48% of global wealth, and 53.2% of the global population hold only 1% of wealth. And that K-shaped economy where the wealthy get wealthier and the poor get poorer is absolutely accelerating right now. It is getting way worse. So the Cantillon effect just means that those who are closest to the money printer benefit the most. And we saw that during COVID. They handed out a bunch of checks, and who got wealthier? The wealthiest portions of the population. But this is not new. This is not new, not a new phenomenon to 2026 or whatever since 2020. This is a karmic cycle in humanity. We've seen it with the Roman Empire, where they diluted metals in order to create more money. We saw it during the French Revolution, where there was hyperinflation that led to an insane social divide that led to war. And then Weimar Germany. The lady here is burning bills. It was cheaper to burn the paper money than to go out and buy wood with it because there was so much money in the system. I would recommend looking up photos from this time because it's really crazy. So like I said, this is a karmic cycle. We have a golden age. Think of the 20s, right? The roaring 20s. Then there's a ton of money printing. They got rid of the gold standard in 1970. And that's when a ton of money printing started, where we just had paper. Now it's trust and faith in the paper. There's nothing backing it. And then this always ends in war. And that's where we are right now. We're at the reset part where they're going to redecide what the new type of currency is going to be. In the Roman Empire, we had silver that turned into bronze so they could create more of it because silver was too rare. Then we had the French Revolution, which was just a bunch of money printing to fund war. And it's all happening again. This is just history repeating, same sauce, different flavor. But we don't have to stay here anymore. That's the good part of this presentation. Like I'm getting to the point where we're going to talk about something very positive that's never happened in 5,000 years of history. We're breaking this karmic cycle. It's already happening. This is not like me talking about something esoteric. It's already happening right now. So what is fiat? It's a zero-sum game where everybody loses because even the wealthiest portions of the population lose in this zero-sum game. For them, they're feeling a different type of pressure. I mean, you can see happening. Some of them are buying bunkers, they're getting underground things, tons of security and protection. Why? Because this ends in war. This doesn't end well for them either. Just looking back at the French Revolution and how things happened at that time. So this is not good for anybody. This system serves nobody, essentially. None of us. This is a system where everyone loses. And unfortunately, it's accelerating. So if you're familiar with Moore's law, it's an observation that the number of transistors on a microchip roughly doubles every 2 years. This can kind of be transposed to AI because we have an acceleration happening in the exponential progress of technology in general, but we can see it specifically in AI right now, where it's progressing so fast. It was like every year before. Now it's like every 6 months. Soon it's going to be every few months, and even faster than that. Jeff has even mentioned that it could be every hour at some point, which is absolutely unfathomable. And so with the acceleration of the progress of technology that we're seeing, what's happening is governments are going to need to print even more money to offset the exponential progress of technology that is trying to impose a free market, right, where prices fall. But governments can't have that. Now, I can't get into why they can't have that in this presentation. It's just too much for this presentation. If you want, I recommend reading more in my book. But they can't stop this, because if they stop printing money, the entire system will implode. So what's happening is technology is accelerating at a pace that we've never seen before. And we're seeing prices fall exponentially as technology continues to progress exponentially. And so governments, on the other hand, have to print even more money to try to offset what's happening, because within a global debt-based system, we cannot have deflation. Deflation is actually bad within a debt-based system, whereas within a free market, deflation is wonderful. Deflation's great. It makes everything cheaper. We get better service. Everything just gets way better in a free market where prices fall. But within a debt-based system based on fiat, we cannot have that, because everything would implode. It would be the end of the Ponzi scheme, which is essentially what this is. Okay, so governments have to print way more money, and we're going to see exponential hyperinflation coming very soon. So this zero-sum game is just getting way worse, and fiat money overall is a control system. Like I said earlier, if you can control fiat money, if you can control the free market through money, you can control people's time, energy, focus, emotions, all the stuff that we see here. And you cause division and all the stuff that we've talked about so far. So what's coming for 2030? Well, we all heard about the Great Reset. And the point I want to make here is really important. You're going to have to make a choice no matter what. Like, either you stay within fiat by tacit agreement. Like, we were born into this system. Most of us don't know about it. We have no clue. Maybe we'll find out about it, but we have a choice to make either way. May we know or not that it exists. We will be adopting CBDCs. So cash is going to disappear. Money as it is needs to be changed. They have to do something new. And so it's going to be central bank digital currencies. This is a money that can be tracked and traced and turn off whatever you're doing, just like in China. Like, if you want to see what this means, go look up, videos about how this works in China already. But it's coming to the West and many other countries. So no cash, everything you do can be tracked and traced. It'll be attached to your facial scans, your fingerprints, full identification. And this is total mass surveillance. Like, you can't hide anywhere on the planet, because Starlink, there's like 1,000 million, I don't know how many there are. There's like satellites in space all over the place. Like, literally, you can't go anywhere. And this will be tied to social credit scores, which means that this incentivizes certain behaviors. So if the government says you can buy a kilo of meat and that's it, if you try to go buy 2, you won't be able to, because programmatically the money will say you can't buy more meat, or you can't travel farther. You can't go see your family this year because you already traveled too far because of environmental credits, right? So this is some crazy Orwellian thing that's already happening. And if you have any value for your freedom and your privacy, I would encourage you to keep listening, because I'm going to give a solution at least to this problem. But either way, you're going to have to make a choice of a digital currency. May it be CBDCs or something else. This is getting urgent. I just implore anyone listening to continue learning about what's actually happening in the world. So why does this matter? Because from a physical perspective, wage workers, anyone who doesn't own assets, first of all, like I said, I'm not blaming anyone, but asset owners are not winners in this system either. You think you're winning, but you're not, because eventually your stuff is gonna, like, what do? You have a house that's worth $1 million. Okay, great. You sell it. Now you're a millionaire. Where are you going to live? You still have to go buy another house. How are you going to buy another house when it's 5 million? Once you sold your 1 million. So nobody wins in this system. So from a physical perspective, we all have to work harder. It has a big toll on our emotions, right? Stress, fear, anxiety about money, all this division and polarization we see in society. It's their fault, their fault, their fault. We don't know what's going on. It's confusing as fuck. Like, what about our spiritual path? How about our well-being? How about our personal development? Are we living our best life? Are we doing what we're passionate about? Are we living from our, highest joy? Probably not in this system. Most of us are not human beings. The system turns people into human doings. And I just want to see a world where people can actually just be themselves and explore what they love. Like I said earlier, money printing is the root cause of the darkness. If I overlay everything we've talked about throughout this presentation so far, you can see how they are first, second, third order effects of money printing, of fiat currency, of the fiat system. So the root cause really is the fiat system, which has first, second, third order effects of everything and all that darkness that we see in the world. Because the free market has been co-opted, this is the world in which we live. And it plays into the incentives. So what happens in fiat is that we've got unlimited money that leads to decreasing purchasing power. It puts people in a survival mindset, right? That's where the greed and the competition all comes from. People are in stress, fear, anxiety. You've got systemically imposed poverty, hunger, division, war. This is ego consciousness. It's a lower form of consciousness in a sense, not like that there's superior. It's just a vibrational frequency that's generally not a high vibrational frequency. And that's why a lot of people joke around like aliens wouldn't come to Earth. This is not an advanced society. Like, at least for now, I don't think they'd appear, Essentially what happened is fiat has co-opted universal truths and first principles. It understood how the world works and then switch things around a little bit to be able to co-opt all of this and impose this reality. Okay, so we've got the natural state of the free market is deflation. We don't have that reality. Money is superordinate to rule of law. Oh, great. If I can control money, I can control people. And we are all one. Well, let's divide everybody, keep them looking at something else and not focus on the root cause of the problem. So we can perpetuate this horrible system for 5,000 years. Fiat money is a control system. It's a zero-sum game. And keep in mind, fiat money is just a belief system, right? If we want a new reality, we just need to change our beliefs. It's as simple as that. And it's not that simple because it does take time to unlearn everything that we've learned in this world into which we were born. But it's completely possible. If you want to unlearn and learn a new reality, you can change everything completely. But there's another reality, and I'm very excited to talk about this one finally. Sorry, it took me 40 minutes to get here. But now I can talk about the reality where we all win, where humanity is in service to humanity. I talk more about this in my book. If you want to dive deeper into fiat, if you want to dive deeper into the positive aspects I'm going to talk about now, by all means, my book is a great place to go. But the reality in which we all win is Bitcoin. Now, I know some people are like, oh my God, Bitcoin's bad for the environment. The government's going to stop it. It's not private enough, blah, 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 blah. Where did all of these ideas come from? From the control system. Have you verified all of these things yet? I would wager that the answer is no. And it's okay. We all come to this in our own time. So just stick with me as I explain why Bitcoin is a system outside the system. Okay, this is not fiat. This is the opposite of fiat. And that's why fiat hates it so much and has tried to stop it and is still trying to co-opt it to this day. Like I said earlier, how can you know the light if you've only known the darkness? How can we understand Bitcoin if we've never seen this thing before? It's what is this? So I'm going to explain a little bit why I think this is a totally different reality compared to fiat. Before I dive in, for anyone who thinks I'm talking about getting rich quick, Bitcoin is not about money to me. It's about freedom. It truly is about freedom. So why Bitcoin? These are the properties of money, and I'm not going to get into all of them. I just want to focus on two. If you want to learn more, I go in my book, but scarce and decentralized are the two most important ones we're going to focus on because we talked about scarcity earlier, right? Abundant money versus scarce assets. So Bitcoin is the world's scarcest asset. There's only 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist, whole Bitcoin. Of course, it's divisible. So you have $1 with 100 pennies. Well, same thing with Bitcoin. You have 21 million Bitcoin that are divisible into 100 million sats per Bitcoin. Sats are Satoshis. They're just fractions of Bitcoin. The name comes from the creator who actually we don't know who that is, which is very important for the creation of Bitcoin, which I'll talk about in a second why. And that's it. That's it. Bitcoin is scarce. There's never going to be more Bitcoin. There can't be more Bitcoin. However, in fiat, we have $900 trillion in the system, like I mentioned earlier. And so fiat continues to grow. They have to keep printing more. Right now, as of 2026, there's 900 trillion. But over time, they will continue to print way more, which keeps diluting the value of the money, like we saw. Bitcoin's a ruler. It's a measuring stick that cannot be changed. It is measuring the true free market. 21 million coins, that's it. A few minutes ago, I said that Satoshi was the creator of Bitcoin, and we don't know who that person or that group is, or that entity or anything. That is a very good thing because it is unstoppable. They gave this immaculate conception to the world, and now it cannot be stopped. It is completely decentralized. There's no central authority. There's no CEO, no marketing team, no someone you can call up to stop it. It is run by people across the globe. And it's also the first time that we have assets that are accessible to every human being on the planet. Like anyone can access Bitcoin with a cell phone, internet connection, even over satellite, over SMS. It doesn't matter. You just need a way to access Bitcoin. There's so many ways. It's not just like online. Whereas before, if you wanted to own assets, you needed a bunch of money to invest. You might have to go to Central Park and buy some super expensive land and have like a lawyer do a whole write-up and everything. Like just so much heavy administration in buying assets before, or even gold, being able to transport it. It's not easy. Bitcoin's accessible to anybody anywhere and can be sent in a few seconds. And it's finally a unified language or a communication tool for all of us. There are over 175 fiat currencies in the world, with thousands of third parties taking cuts. Now we can communicate directly in the free market in one common language with no third-party intervention. There's one Bitcoin. Like, we have one language that we can all speak no matter where we are. We can all be part of that same free market. It's the first global free market. If you value your time, your skills, your energy, if you want to contribute to other people and receive that contribution back, this is the first global free market. So remember our first principles from earlier. If this is the first global free market, we would need to see a few things. 1, price is falling. I'll discuss this in a second. 2, the idea that money is superordinate to law is true in fiat. What we just talked about is how Bitcoin is a currency that cannot be stopped or controlled. I can't dive deeper into why in this video, but as long as it stays decentralized and secure, which it has for the last 17 years, this is absolutely unstoppable. We would also need to see us all as sovereign individuals, part of the collective, so a more unified humanity in higher consciousness. But first, let's look at how prices work in Bitcoin terms. So when it comes to purchasing power, earlier we saw the example with the carts and the $20 bill. In fiat, what does that look like in Bitcoin? Well, with 1 Bitcoin in 2011, you could buy next to nothing, like maybe a quarter cart of food. In 2015, you could buy 3 full carts of food. And in 2025, you could buy 3 full carts of food, a fancy vacation, like a really nice vacation, and a Tesla Model 3. Why is that? We talked about it earlier. If you have a free market, then prices naturally fall. So you see greater purchasing power in the free market. In 2011, you needed 162 Bitcoin to buy an iPhone 4S. Just a year later, you only needed 52 Bitcoin to buy an iPhone 5. A few years later, just 1 Bitcoin to buy an iPhone 7. As you can see, you need less and less Bitcoin over time to be able to buy better and better technology. If you kept your Bitcoin from 2011, 162 Bitcoin, and you waited until 2016 to buy your phone, you could buy 11,750 iPhone 16s. I know that sounds completely crazy, but it's the same thing with real estate. The average cost of a 100 square meter home in Portugal was 900,000 Bitcoin in 2010. In 2022, 5.72 Bitcoin, and every year it's getting less and less. If you had kept your 900,000 Bitcoin from 2010 and waited to buy until 2022, you could buy 158,000 more homes. Average, of course. This is just an average, but that's completely crazy. It sounds crazy, but this is a global free market where prices fall. What I tell people is, if you receive Bitcoin today, it's like planting a seed. If you look at it, you're going to have the impression that it's like not worth anything or whatever. Just let it be. Forget about it. Come back in 4 years. You'll have greater purchasing power. If you come back in 8 years, you'll have even more purchasing power. 12 years, forget about it. This is get free slowly, I guess, is what Bitcoin is. It's the first global free market. If you value your time, your skills, your energy, if you want to contribute to other people and receive that contribution back, this is the first global free market. It's the opposite of what we see in fiat. Everything gets cheaper. We can buy more with the same money. Jeff Booth says it's 8 billion people in service to 8 billion people. I see it as sovereign individuals serving the collective and the collective serving the sovereign individual. Now, when I say stuff like that, right, people say to me, oh, Daniella, your book is called Beyond Money. Are you a communist? Like what you just said sounds communistic. You believe in free markets. You must be a capitalist. This one didn't happen this way. I embellished it, to be honest. But sorry, this happened in person. Sorry, I was a jerk. I didn't realize we thought the same thing. You look liberal. And then you sound like a libertarian, makes sense for a Bitcoiner. And are you sure you aren't an anarchist? And I thought this was funny, but like, Bitcoin's a protocol for humanity. This is something that we've never seen before. So I understand why people say these things to me, because you can't put it in a box. You can't say, oh, this is that thing. Because like I said, if you're in the darkness, how do you recognize the light? We've never seen the light before. We've never seen this. So it isn't an ism. It's not capitalism, communism, it's none of these things that we've ever seen before. It's the first global free market. It's so exciting. I'd love to have more discussions about what that could look like, what that means, because we've never had that before. And like I said, this reality already exists. Everyone in Bitcoin who understands what this is beyond get rich quick is manifesting that reality right now. And you can be part of it too. And I really want to be clear, Bitcoin is not crypto. These are very different things. Super simple way to know what's happening. Everything that's not Bitcoin is fiat. Anything that's not Bitcoin is a modern attempt at co-opting the free market. Okay, it's just new modern branding. What we see are so many scams in crypto because it is exactly that. It's designed to confuse you and is designed to be just like fiat. Bitcoin's a system outside the system. Everything else is fiat. And so Bitcoin has a completely new incentive structure for humanity. It takes our pyramid from earlier with fiat and flips it upside down. We've got scarce money, right? That leads to increasing purchasing power. We work for pleasure rather than for survival. Imagine working, right? Because you're still going to do something with your time. People are all like, what are you going to do with your time if you don't have work? What am I doing? I'm making videos. I'm sharing information. I love teaching. What do you like doing? Maybe you like making art. Maybe you want to make music. Maybe you want to teach. Maybe you want to do other stuff. Do whatever you want, but you don't have to like trade your time at a 9 to 5 just to make money to survive. We don't have to live in that world anymore. And AI is bringing us into that world, but from within a fiat system, it leads to slavery. You have to be in a free market for technology to be designed to free us. So collaboration, innovation, connection, more peace and abundance among us. And that's a higher level of consciousness. That's unity consciousness, self-actualization, closer to enlightenment. I find this super exciting. And then people connect on core values rather than on these divisive differences. It's like, oh, skin color, nationality, whatever. All of these things are arbitrary divisions from the fiat system. Like none of that matters. What we connect on as Bitcoiners, because the Bitcoin community is full of people from every background and any walk of life, because it's just a collection of humans. Like that's what you would expect. It's normal. It's apolitical. It doesn't matter what you believe, what your religious background is. It doesn't care. Bitcoiners generally connect. We all know that we have these common things together. Like we value sovereignty, freedom, truth, liberty, free markets, humanity, connection. These are human values that bring us together no matter what else we believe. And that's so much closer to the world that you see in the real world, right? When you're not on fiat social media and all of that stuff. When you're on Nostr, for example, which is another social media where there's mostly Bitcoiners right now, but there's more people coming in. But you have real humans connecting on our values. And that leads us to a higher pursuit for all of us, not just the West, not just people who were lucky to be born in countries where we are closer to the top of the monopoly on money. This is for everybody. Food, water, shelter. So many people are stuck at the base of Maslow's hierarchy of needs because they don't have basic things. So they're spending their day focusing on, trying to get food, trying to get water, take care of their shelter. Trying to be secure. Imagine having everything you need and owning all of your time fully. What would you be doing? If we get past all of that, then we can focus more on a sense of connection, ourselves, self-respect, unity. And that leads us much closer to self-actualization, enlightenment, like I was talking about earlier. What does a humanity that has free time to connect, to do what they love, their passions, joys, excitements, whatever makes you happy, that you can bring your gifts, talents, and abilities to the world, and receive that back from other people in a true free market without third-party intervention? I mean, what does it mean to be human? I think this question is absolutely fundamental and super interesting. It's kind of like my favorite part of exploring Bitcoin, and something that I do discuss in my book. I go deeper into like what I think that could be from a spiritual, esoteric perspective, but still very grounded. And so imagine 8 billion people coming online. You know, people working in mines, or people working in, people spending all day rummaging through trash right now in parts of the world to try to survive. Like, imagine them bringing all of their gifts, talents, and abilities and intelligence and creativity and genius into the free market. What a crazy reality we would see. I really think it would be amazing. Plus the exponential progress of technology in service to humanity. Wow. Like, I can't even imagine this world, and I just want more people to like come and imagine this, because I think it'd be so cool. I can't believe more people aren't here yet, but it's so early. And so right now we're on the skewed 1985 timeline, but we don't have to stay there. And those who are ready are already opting out, defunding war, and opting into Bitcoin. So this is the paradigm shift. Okay. And it's not the system that's going to change for us. It's us changing. It's us seeing all the darkness coming to light right now in reality and being like, whoa, that's not okay. I want to do something about it. We are born into the fiat reality. We don't know that it's there. And then we become aware of reality too. Most of us have all heard about, like, if you talk to anybody, they've heard about Bitcoin, but they've dismissed it because they were told to dismiss it by government pretty much, or by the media, right? It's bad for the environment. Oh, it's bad for the environment. I'm not touching that. Okay. That was 2017. Have you done any research since? Like, it's actually depolluting the planet. What? Yeah. So who's to blame? Why does the fiat system exist? Let's go back to our very first slide in this presentation. Why does it exist? Well, the reason that fiat perpetuates for the last 5,000 years is because we are fiat. We are the system. It's through our choices and actions that this system still exists and perpetuates. I'm going to explain why. And I think I have a script for this part. Sorry, there's just so much to say that I didn't want to miss anything. And the part of the presentation that I just did, I knew by heart because I've already done that part of the presentation. So I got it my script. I just want to read this part because I don't want to miss anything. There's just a lot to say. So thanks again for making it this far in the video and sharing your time with me. I don't take it for granted at all. And I don't think this video will get shared by the algorithm. So if you don't mind sharing it, especially if you learned something interesting so far, that would mean a lot because, yeah, it's demonetized. So YouTube doesn't make any money from it. So they have no incentive to share this, especially since it's like against their business model. So yeah, please share it. I'd really appreciate that. Let's talk about the solution and where our power lies. So coming back to our first slide, I put who's to blame on this on purpose. Through this presentation, I've demonstrated that nobody other than the fiat system is to blame. But what is the fiat system? Who enables it? It's us. We are fiat. Now, I want to be clear. We are born into and indoctrinated into the system. You maybe didn't even know all of this before watching this video. Like I said, how can you know the light if you've always lived in darkness? So the good thing is there's finally a way out. But truly, there's nobody else to blame except ourselves for this reality so long as we choose to perpetuate it. How? Well, imagine one politician said, in 8 years, we will be completely debt-free by adopting Bitcoin. And another politician says, I'm going to give you UBI $3,000 per month, and you don't have to work. Who would you vote for? Probably the UBI politician. But what the Bitcoiner will also tell you is that it's going to be tough along the way. Like a seed growing into a tree, but on the other side, we will be free. However, the UBI politician won't tell you where the UBI money comes from. He didn't say that it requires money printing, that it will make his assets increase in value, that it causes inflation to soar. He won't tell you that your $3,000 won't buy anything in a few months. Ask people in California. They're making over 130,000 USD on average yearly, and many people would say they are still financially struggling. Why? Because more fiat money does not solve the problem. It causes it. Coming back to our slide with all the beautiful people working hard trying to help others from within a system designed to hurt us all. The truth is, you cannot solve the system from the system. 5,000 years has demonstrated that fiat money is a control system that's designed to hurt us all. The only way out is to adopt a fully decentralized global free market that cannot be co-opted. And so you don't need to vote for anyone. We don't need to ask for money. We don't need UBI. Bitcoin is permissionless. You can move into it today. The reason many Bitcoiners believe that Bitcoin is inevitable is because you can't have a prison with an open door. It is through our individual agency that we choose to walk out of the prison instead of standing within it, yelling at everything we believe that is keeping the door closed when the door is actually wide open. The more of us that walk through that door and courageously discover this brand new world, the more of us manifest the reality that we know is possible here on Earth. A higher timeline for all of us. If there are 500 million people at the top of the system controlling the time, energy, and attention of 7.5 billion others, then we are 15 times bigger than that group. We have the numbers, the power to change the world by saying no and making new choices. Right now in Bitcoin, it's the exact opposite. Maybe 500 million of us, but more people are waking up every day. Not so much in the West where things are comfortable, unfortunately, but they are going to get very uncomfortable soon. More so in the global South, where our inflation has been exported by design. The people who are most affected by the exploitation are the ones who understand the quickest why Bitcoin is so important and are freeing themselves. The pain is coming quickly for the West, but you don't have to partake in it. This video is not asking you to buy Bitcoin. Please don't buy Bitcoin. After watching this, I only want to invite you to keep learning, keep questioning, keep searching from first principles. Disprove what I talked about in this video. Nobody can or will save us from within the broader system, though. There is only you and your agency. Your free will choices, what you decide to do for yourself, your family, and your community. If you're interested in accelerating your understanding of fiat and Bitcoin, I've condensed over 10,000 hours down the rabbit hole into a book at the crossroads of economics and spirituality, which doesn't mean religion for me. It just means a deeper search for truth. That book is called Beyond Money, and it's available for purchase from my website. You can listen to the first 2 hours of the audiobook here. You can also get a digital copy completely anonymously from my site. I also highly recommend any of Jeff Booth's podcasts on YouTube, but especially his talk in DC and his best-selling book, The Price of Tomorrow, Why Deflation is Key to an Abundant Future. My channel has no ads, no sponsors, so if you'd like to support my work, consider value for value by getting a copy or by zapping me some sats. Thank you for being here.